This is absolutely amazing because I've got four unbelievable panelists. I believe they have more combined experience together than I have been alive in this world, and that's saying a lot because I've got a lot of gray hair. So no, these are absolutely amazing people, and I want to welcome Sandy Shen. She's the mobile marketing lead for LinkedIn, and then Drew Hambke, which is the director of marketing at Kongregate. Should we say Kongregate still, or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then obviously you've got Lomit Patel, who's CMO at Tynker, and then Lenette, who is the UA lead. And I'll let you guys talk a little bit about yourselves, and just as a kind of like a fun question to start everyone off is just kind of like, what is the funnest or worst marketing experience that you have had? Just as a little bit of fun. And apparently funnest is actually a word. I was looking that up last night in the dictionary. So go for it. You want to start?
Sure. Sandy Shen, and from LinkedIn, leading the mobile app program at LinkedIn. And I will pick the funnest one for your question. Not recently, like 1 year ago, we launched a campaign at LinkedIn for premium and to promote a feature. And apparently this feature existing for a really long time, but no one knows. And either LinkedIn internal team people kind of not knowing that. I can ask this question to you guys. Anyone knows if you buy a 1 year LinkedIn premium, you will get 50% off. If you know this feature, raise your hand. See, no one knows that. So we launched a very, very small campaign on that. And we kind of sense like people not knowing that, so we want to promote this feature. And the funniest thing is like even internal team not knowing that, which is like funny to see everyone's impression when we run this campaign. They're like, oh, this is the thing. So that's the funniest thing that recently I'm experiencing. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm Drew Hambke, Director of Marketing at Kongregate. As Kevin sort of hinted at earlier, we were acquired by Monumental earlier on in the year, which means that we are kind of this great little new company that has a variety of games and a variety of different genres. Kongregate was really focused on CCG titles and adventure RPGs, but now we have casual games, and now we have a little bit more flexibility in where we get to spend. It's been a very exciting year. I think that my favorite marketing experience the last couple of years was not this last GDC, but the GDC before. We had a large team out from Kongregate. We had a booth on the floor, and we were showing off like new creatives that we had built in-house, which were really cool and dynamic. And we had the whole team together all at once. It was the first time post-pandemic that we had the whole marketing team in one place at one time. And it was just really cool to like feel the energy at an exciting event like GDC.
Hi everyone, my name's Lomit Patel. I'm Chief Growth Officer at Tynker. For those who don't know, Tynker is actually a gaming app that has helped kids to learn to code, and we have over 100 million users. I would say my fun story is when I first started at Tynker, we used to focus a lot on trying to acquire parents to really get to know about the product, and that didn't generally work that well, and it's really hard to do paid marketing with kids' apps, because it's hard to target minors. But one of the things that we ended up doing, one of the things that kind of sort of set a new light bulb off for us was there's this thing called Hour of Code that happens in December. It's an initiative across most schools around the world where all the schools collaborate to teach kids to learn to code for 1 hour a day for a week. And we decided to put some Tynker games into that, but we didn't have the money to really promote it. So we had really poor visibility. We were like on the third page, but we were completely surprised that even being on the third page, we ended up driving millions of new kids that really sort of found out about us, and it really sort of helped us get really excited that the fact is that, you know, if you know, kids really love the product, and we've been really focusing on parents instead of the kids. If we can really start focusing on the kids, that would be the best way to sort of build and grow the business.
Lenette?
Oh, yeah. Hi, my name is Lenette. I'm the user acquisition lead at public.com. So for those of you that don't know us, we're an investing company based in New York that allows our users to invest in like stocks, ETF, crypto, options, bonds, and a high yield cash account. So I work with the broader marketing team, but I mostly focus on paid digital marketing channels. My favorite most happiest marketing time would probably be at this job, because I had moved from many years of like mobile gaming experience into a fintech company. So it was just very exciting to, sort of like take everything that I've learned and apply it in a new field. And I also joined at a really great time when they're releasing lots of new products. And it's, you guys know, it's always really fun to be part of a product launch. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I should also say that I'm Kevin Kinnison. I'm the client partner lead, and I work with wonderful companies like Public and actually Kongregate. So I get to work with some of these wonderful people on the panel, so that's awesome. But yeah, I just make sure that all our clients are happy and taken care of. But the next thing is I'm going to ask some wonderful questions, just personal questions of our panelists. And for Sandy, I mean, you've transitioned. I mean, she's had a very, very long road of working at UA forever between two massively big companies, which is Zynga and LinkedIn. I mean, how's that transition been from kind of like gaming to non-gaming and within two big companies?
I think even that this industry is a little bit different, but the methodology behind the UA is kind of the same. So the transition is pretty smooth. And the difference between like gaming and like linking, so I immediately noticed when I enter into linking is more like, so for gaming, we want people see the ads, you want to download the app and you play and you do in-app purchase. But for linking, it's a little bit like long user journey. So you want to understand what linking is for. Like there's the brand awareness there, and then you need to, like sometimes we run like a consideration campaign. Like you need to understand beyond the job seeker what linking can offer you, and then go to the bottom funnel. Hey, now it's time to download linking to explore what's going on. So the user journey is a little bit different than gaming. Gaming is like very fast. Like you download, you install, you play, and you pay. And for linking or the other big brands, they want to understand brand first. And the user journey is a little bit long. Yeah.
Drew, I know that there's been Kongregate and Monumental, and how's that been joining forces and combining UA strategies and trying to learn from each other?
I think it's gone really well. So in addition to like merging the marketing teams together, we also merged our insights and analytics departments together. So data being so key to any marketing strategy, it was really nice to join forces with another really data-driven organization and just look at each other's data and performance in the last couple of years and be able to make some really good informed decisions right off the bat. That was kind of refreshing. Like I've gone through mergers with other companies before, and it's always a little bit like, how's this year gonna go? But instead, it's been like a really, really good, strong, unified push to make sure that our portfolio is as strong as possible. It's also good just to have more games to spend on across a variety of different genres. We've really seen seasonality has hit us on some of our long-term titles really hard the last couple of years. But being able to put money in different places has made it just a much, we've been able to sustain spend at a much more constant level this year than we have in previous years, which has been really nice and really refreshing.
Awesome. Lomit, I know you have a very different perspective, obviously, because it's you guys are focused much more on organic. But it'd be great to just hear what your kind of thoughts are and how everything's going.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say at Tynker, what's different from a lot of the other companies that I've worked at, you can't really lean in that much into paid user acquisition, especially when you've changed your strategic shift to really going after acquiring kids versus parents. But some of the things that we've done that has really sort of helped us grow organically has been really really understanding the whole user journey in terms of the funnel, in terms of the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel, and really kind of looking at the metrics to really figure out the biggest pain points where we're losing people, and really just running a lot of experiments to really figure out how we could try to provide value at each of those steps, try and get more people to continue to go to move over into the next step. But for us, SEO has become a really big channel, and primarily the way we've been able to really grow SEO has been that we figured out that one of the best ways that kids learn to code is really but through Minecraft. So kids really have a strong affinity in Minecraft, and there's over 100 million users that use Minecraft. So we started creating a lot of content around Minecraft. And the best way we did this is that we created these creator tools, just like other gaming studios have creator tools, but we created these creator tools for kids where they can create all these amazing projects in Minecraft. And we opened that up so it was really discoverable through Google search. And on YouTube, we put a lot of tutorials around these tools and optimized it for the right keywords around Minecraft. And that sort of started driving a lot of discoverability. And as kids started coming in, we made it really easy for them to create these tools without creating any accounts or anything. So we removed all that friction, so it was easy to get started into the product, create these different projects. And then once they created a project, they had to create an account to save the project. And that stage, when they create the account, that's when we asked them to give us their parent email address, because parents have to verify a minor's account. It's part of the data regulation. And that's how we're able to build up a massive database of parents and connect the parents' accounts to the kids' accounts, so then the parents could see all of the great projects and skills that the kids were learning on Tynker. And so then it made it easy to really get a lot more people into our freemium offering. And then it was a matter of really upgrading people from freemium into free trials into paid users. And then the other channel where we were getting a lot of users is through schools. We have over 150,000 schools that use our product, but we didn't do a really good job to really help kids in schools that were using Tynker to discover that there was another side to Tynker. So we started making it more visible on the navigation that it was actually a Tynker for fun. And so when kids started clicking on that, they were exposed to all these fun things around Minecraft that they didn't know even existed in Tynker. So outside of school, we started driving a lot of people organically coming into Tynker as well.
Cool. I'm going to have to get my kids to start using Tynker soon. That sounds awesome. I could just find out all the different things that they're doing. Cool. And Lenette, I know that you've pretty much been in kind of like every single continent doing marketing, and I know that there's been obviously probably you have a lot of experiences that she's been in Berlin, Hong Kong, Singapore, now SF. I mean, what's been the changing marketing across the world?
The change in marketing across the world, language localization. So, well, I guess it's kind of like quite universal in terms of what works in marketing. Like your creatives are always the most important. And and you should understand like your audience demographic. I think especially now, I've been seeing that like the common consensus is always to just use broad targeting and let the network find your best users. But I think it really depends on like your business. For example, for gaming, like a very casual app and game, you can definitely do that. And the signals are definitely strong enough for like something like Facebook or something to optimize for you. But in a more niche business, for example, like fintech, you got to go to where your users are. And that is, for example, Reddit, certain forums, podcasts. You also want to be, on out of home, CTV, you want to touch them wherever they are, because it's not just about having like very specific interests and going to very specific places where those conversations take place. It's also about understanding that like switching a brokerage, for example, is a huge decision. Like you don't just convert from one to the other, really. So we understand that there's a long consideration process, and we try to provide lots of content, like good content, in places where there's like high contextual relevance.
Awesome.
Yeah. And also like the biggest difference is like rent. Like, it's really expensive here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they should change that in San Francisco. I mean, what's wrong? We're talking about user acquisition and talking about rents now. So how's it just, and this is kind of like moving on to the main questions. I mean, how's consumer behavior changing and in the app market, and what kind of trends are you seeing? I mean, Drew, I know that you've seen a lot with gaming and kind of like post-COVID and everything like that. So
yeah, so in the before the COVID times, we saw like a large chunk of our revenue was coming from what I would call commuter games. Games that you were playing while you're on public transit or like, sitting, carpooling your way into work. That's a lot of where like our idle stack of games sat. When COVID hit, we saw like the revenue gradually decline on those titles just because there was less idle time. Instead of people having that device open while they're waiting to go somewhere, they're just at home, so they don't have that wait time to really play that game anymore. We saw a shift towards more in-depth experiences. Bit Heroes being like an adventure RPG saw a spike when COVID first hit, and so did Animation Throwdown, which is more like a competitive game. A lot of depth there in the PvP engine, so you can spend a lot of time there. I'd say in the last like year and a half or so, player behavior patterns are normalizing again. There's a little bit more of a split away from those in-depth experiences. You have more people chasing casual titles, especially now that like hyper casual has leveled off and it's not 75% of the gaming ads anymore. But you're seeing a more balanced approach. There are people that are playing the same game that they've been playing for 5 or 6 years, and they're devoting a lot of time, a lot of money into that title. But you also have some consumers trying out new things. Where we're seeing growth though post-COVID is not so much in nostalgia experiences, it's in more innovative games. It's in games that have some sort of unique value proposition to them. So you might not see as much of a success from like yet another card game that has the same sort of engine, but if you see one that like adds in a new set of mechanics or has like a really unique art style, that is more likely to see a spike at the very beginning and see like a higher initial user base. And then if that game can like retain those players and turn them into a regular returning user segment, that can really be a success story in the long run. So things are normalizing for us, but I still think consumers are interested in a variety of experiences again. There's a lot less like drive for escapism. There's more people just looking for fun and also looking for new content in their existing, the things that are already existing and playing.
Sandy, I know that LinkedIn has probably changed a ton because people are going back to work from COVID. There's more changes from, obviously, people are going into the office. I mean, how's LinkedIn's user behavior kind of changed over time?
I mean, not just linking, I feel like in high level, like consumer spend more time on the mobile app because of, especially for the category like gaming, like social media. And I think it's just because of the convenience of the mobile device, and also because of the return to work become like popular. People like going to like Caltrain bar or the transportation. They have more time on the transportation. What they do, they just open their app, And the other thing we noticed that like people, not we noticed for LinkedIn, but also broadly, like people consumers more care about their privacy, especially like after iOS 14.5. Like most of the app has the pop-up to make sure people consent. I agree, you take my data, or I don't agree. But some of the like company like LinkedIn, we don't have the pop-up at all because we don't collect the data.
Yep.
So for people seeing the pop-up like every day for multiple apps, they now like more aware of, this app gonna collect my data to use what? So even my 65 years old mom asked me what's going on with this pop-up, like are they gonna collect what? So I feel like consumer like more understand what's going on in the privacy landscape, yeah.
And Lomit, you probably have seen some differences as well, because I know that the return to school and all the changes from COVID and everything, has there been a big change there in how Tynker works?
Yeah, I think with Tynker, I mean, the biggest challenge is getting user attention, right? I mean, during COVID, when everybody was doing online learning, kids had a lot more time and were looking for ways to try and stay busy. And so Tynker did really well. Plus, during that time, a lot of schools were given a lot of like government funding initiatives to try and pay for things like Tynker. So we did well from that standpoint. A lot of that funding has dried up since return. But having said that, I think it really comes down to habits at the end of the day. The question is, during the pandemic, we had more time and patience to create those habits to get people to continue to engage and use the product. And post-pandemic, we don't have that luxury. So what we've had to really do is introduce a lot more gamified elements into the product to try and get people engaged as quickly as possible. And so some of the things that we've done that has worked really well is come up with personalized learning paths for different kids. And I think the previous guest that was here was sort of touching on some of these things, but the idea is, during the onboarding, that's the most critical point. During the onboarding, you have enough data signals, plus you can ask certain questions through Q&A to really figure out what's the best first-time user experience to give to the child, and ideally, what's their objective or goal that they want to achieve in the first 7 days in the product, whether it's to create an app, create a game, to learn some form of level of coding proficiency. And so we use AI generated to personalize that learning experience right from the start for each individual child. And that's helped us to engage children a lot quicker into the product. But at the same time, we have to continue to show the parents that there's value that the child is getting from the product. So the other thing that we've done is we've come up with not only certificates that the kids can earn and different badges and milestones, but the parents can see all these different skills that the kids are learning through the product as well. And so every week we send a progress report so the parents are able to see what the child is learning. And I think that's really helped. But at the end of the day, we kind of just look at our best retained users and we reverse engineer the user journeys based on what people need to do within the first 7 days, all the way up to the first 30 days. And then the second thing we did is we shortchanged the tenure of the plans we used to sell. Like we used to sell monthly plans, quarterly and yearly, but the reality is we get the highest churn on the monthly plans, right? People don't really get engaged. So now we moved away from monthly and we sell quarterly, yearly, and lifetime plans. And that works out better because it gives us more time to get people more engaged post-pandemic than pre-pandemic.
I know you said mentioned AI, and our next question is actually going to be about AI and how you're using it within user acquisition. And this is always fun because there's so many changes and so much thing and so much investment here. Everybody has some thoughts on it, so I'll let any one of the panelists give some thoughts on what they're doing with AI with marketing. Lenette, you want to start, or
What?
you want to start on?
Sure, I guess. I guess that the usage of AI in fintech would be a little bit more specific because, come on, we just can't let Facebook run wild with, something like earn X% on something. I'm sure they'll come up with some crazy ass stuff, but in my role, I use it more for automating the boring stuff. For example, if I have a bunch of data, I ask ChatGPT to sort it out for me. If I wanted to do up a brief for a copywriter, because all the language needs to go through compliance, I use generative AI to help me put things into a tone that I want that I normally wouldn't be able to write myself. I also use it for brainstorming and also automating things like adding voiceovers to videos. I think even Google Ads now has a feature where you can click a button, pick a tone that you want, and they do a really good voiceover on the videos. It's actually better than if you paid someone for it.
Wow.
But I guess what I really want to see is a co-pilot embedded into all of the ads manager. I want to give a set of instructions and be build this. I think that would be probably the biggest upgrades.
And Sandy and Drew, you guys are using it for creatives a bit as well. So, how's that been going for you guys?
We've used it a little bit for iterations, ideations on creatives. I find that it's really helpful nowadays that you wander into an ad network dashboard like Google or Meta. It's just oh, there is some sort of new tool here not that you were really asking for it or looking for it, but it's right there and it surfaces really nicely. I like a lot of them. I think they're good in terms of like improving efficiency. I don't think that a lot of the tools are to the point where they're fully going to like replace an artist or replace someone who's going to like sit down and check all of the copy and make sure that it's appropriate for what's getting sent out. But it's making the life of the average UA manager, I think, a little bit easier in the long run. In terms of like voiceovers on creatives and just like creative stuff in this space, I think it's really good for like restoring old creatives and doing a voiceover or making some slight tweaks to it. I don't think that it has really generated unique, brand new ads, at least for us yet, that have been really successful.
Yeah, we are on the same boat. So we do experience, like we do the creative, like using AI to tweak a little bit creative, but it cannot be like a new concept because linking ads, like we very care about our brand safety. So the AI and us need to communicate very well and can generate new things. So we didn't find the success yet, but for like little tweak, like I want to do like color difference, like this kind of things, I think we can leverage the AI and to like decrease on like manual work. Yeah.
Now, quick question: has anyone tried an Australian accent with kind of like the voiceovers for ads? Does it work?
I have not tried one, but I keep seeing more and more of them in the new dashboards for those. So soon.
Cool.
Are you volunteering to be?
Well, I mean, if you need a good Australian, anytime. Thinking beyond UA and kind of like your kind of like mobile UA, how's your channel mix kind of like evolving? I know, Lenette, you mentioned that you're kind of like doing a whole bunch of different things, including things like direct mail.
Yes, and podcast.
Yeah, tell us a bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so we do a mix of obviously the paid digital marketing channels, your usual like Facebook, Reddit, and everything else. We also run a fair bit of affiliates. So if you go to like, if you're just random Googling, looking for the best brokerages or whatever, you go through a few articles and then you see a link inside one of the articles that links you back to the sign up page. Like that's kind of what we call like affiliates. We also partner with good podcasters who can really talk deep about finance. We also do a bunch of like CTV ads. So if you're on like watching some kind of connected TV, we have like ad spot come on. And now and then we also do like out of home, especially in New York City, where sometimes it's just like, the street next to Wall Street, we'll just have a whole street that's just full of our banners. So that's kind of.
And how are you measuring it all? Because that's tricky doing out of home and everything and trying to tie it into mobile and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, well, the truth is for certain things, it's just hard to measure, no matter what kind of measurement model that you're using. And it depends on what project you're measuring. If it's for the everyday optimization, deciding week to week where to move your budgets to month, like where to spend more, it's still last click that is the best. Like it gives you the best direct feedback, and it shows you exactly what was the last ad the user converted on. Where I think with like mixed media modeling, it kind of looks like everything is effective, and you should just do more of everything. Incrementality tests is also something that's useful when you're running, for example, like a large amount of podcasts or a certain like out-of-home advertisement for a fixed period of time, where you have definitely like increase in spend during that time. Then it can show you kind of like the uplift that you get both in trackable and organic growth.
Yeah, I mean, measurement is extremely important. I know like at Adjust that we've spent a ton of time, and that's probably where I feel like compared to some of our competitors within the MMP space, we've spent a ton of time on incrementality and MMM and really invested in our resources there. I know, Sandy, that you're doing a lot there as well, and you've kind of looked into incrementality and MMM. How's your data science working with you, and how's that all going, trying to, because you're such a big brand, it's obviously really hard to measure success in last click versus incrementality and MMM.
Yeah, because linking has not just like app this one line of the business. We have some other B2B business as well. We have been using last click for a long time, and starting last year, we explored like MMM, not just because like last click not efficient. It's also because of like we have so many line of the business. We want to understand, for example, like one app running the campaign, how does that affect to our biggest like business, like LMS, linking marketing solution? Like when the job seeking campaign running on career side, how does that affect our app activation, like these kind of things. So we start exploring like the MM starting last year. So it's been a journey because like you need to collect the data, you have kind of potential readout, and then you need to validate your readout is correct or not. I would say we know what we are doing, but we are still at the very early stage. In terms of incrementality tests, we love incremental tests. Even our LTV, like based on the incremental value. So we have we work with our DS team to have like LTV for each geos and each OS. I know gaming probably more advanced, they can have LTV for each channel. We're not there yet. Yeah.
Cool. And I know like following on from incrementality and MMM, and I know privacy has really affected the measurement and in your approach to tracking and measurement. I mean, what are you guys kind of like, how are you doing that? Like you mentioned that you were working on things like aggregated measurement and
Yes, especially after like 3 years ago, I was 14.5 release, as I mentioned. So I think industry kind of panicked a little bit. So, but we are kind of learning for these 3 years, like you need to aggregate data because like some platform only allow you like 8 to 10 campaigns. So we need to work with the data scientists to make sure like we aggregate the geos, like make sense, like similar geo, you need to aggregate them together to one campaign. So when the performance comes, you kind of know it's kind of direction correct, and the performance is good, and the performance, if it needs to be improved, you need to do some optimization. Yeah.
Cool. And moving on from that, I mean, how do you ensure kind of like accuracy and granularity of UA reporting when it comes to scan? Because I mean, that's a tricky nutshell to crack because it's not very granular always. We'll just say that nicely. If anyone from Apple's here, don't hate me. Drew, I know you're using Adjust. I mean, how do you deal with it? How much fun do you have there?
There's a lot of fun there. You know, for us, it's been just like regular testing on Scan and regular testing with the different versions of it to see what's going to give us the best results in the long run. It's supplementing anything that we get out of like Adjust in our regular data. We have to run more correlation analysis just to like look at the downstream things and make sure that we actually see growth and sustainable UA spend in those areas. But we're kind of in the same boat that we've been in for a while now, which is like we're working with Apple Search, we're working with some other iOS focused sources, but it's only been in the last like 3 to 6 months really that we've seen a lot of like potential viability outside of ASA and maybe the occasional DSP that we run on. So I think we're at the point now where it's like we're going to have to do more iteration, more testing in that area. But the big change for us really is that it seems to be starting to work in some places, which is nice.
Yeah, I think ScanForce helped a lot as well.
I agree.
Yeah, it's really changed everything. And I mean, getting on to kind of like the metrics and how everybody's measuring, how are they evolving? Like, how are you managing to change with kind of like metrics over time? Like with Scan, you've obviously got to have earlier metrics. And I mean, just for us, in terms of Adjust, we've been working on a predictions product that we try and encourage all of our clients to get as many early metrics, because then even if they're not using Scan, we can start seeing all those things that are happening and then be able to give a D14 predicted value back to Scan so people can optimize off that, which I think is kind of cool. But I mean, I know that you, Drew, you've got kind of like a lot of user data and analytics on kind of like, and that's been changing, and that's been a real passion of yours. So, yeah.
I think the answer here is just like we're looking at more metrics. There's always new ones that we're tacking on. Recently, our push has been to look at like the marketability metrics at the very front of the funnel. Yep. We've been trying to trying to really focus on like IPM, CTR, CVR, really improve the ASO and that whole funnel at the very beginning of each. But then we're looking more at downstream metrics as well. It's not just like day 1, 3, 7, 14 on retention anymore. We're looking at consumer behavior patterns in the first 24 hours and then afterwards, and just assigning like little mini KPIs everywhere that we're going. Partially because like there's no one true set of metrics for anything that is going to work. You have to like define what it looks like for each individual title, and a lot of the times for each different demographic that you're pointing towards the title. The success of each one of our games is really dependent on finding the right mix of users, and that requires defining a key set of KPIs and then making sure that you're sustaining that, and making sure that when you expand into a new market or try a new geo, that you get something similar to that. Otherwise, it's not going to bear out in the long run. But in short, just more time spent looking at more numbers and more metrics, which is good when you have like a data-driven team like we do, because like you can say, hey, is a direct correlation between like this day and this time and how much revenue we're getting in these different spots, and we get those turned around really, really quickly. It's been really, really helpful. But I only see that increasing. Like the more we have tools, like Adjust with enough tools, like send tons of events and things, the more we have access to those tools, the more we're going to look at them, and the more it's going to refine our campaigns in the future.
Nice. And I know, Lomit, you're kind of like working on measuring kind of like SEO, ASO, product-led growth. I mean, how are you measuring that, and how's that changing over time? Because that's very dynamic.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, what we've been able to do is ultimately try to come up with a value for a cost of a registration in terms of a lifetime value assigned to that registration. And that's kind of based primarily in terms of where that registration is coming from. So we know the value of kids that discover us from schools convert at a certain level and how they pan out to an LTV versus kids that come to us that are really interested in Minecraft have a different lifetime value, because that's the highest quality source. Because we know kids that come from Minecraft, and when they initiate creating an account and having parents verifying that account, they're a lot more vested into Tynker. And so that has a different value versus people that just come organically through just search has a different value as well. So, I think a lot of that is just, it's something that we continue to change and monitor every couple of months. But for the most part, what we found is once we know what the value is of the cost to acquire that registration, then we know, for example, if you want to do paid UA, how much we would pay on that signal versus trying to sort of do it downstream. Because everyone that comes in isn't necessarily going to convert right away, because there's a freemium path and then there's a free trial path. But we tend to have a pretty good confidence on the registration value.
Cool. I think we have time for one more question, and this is the fun one. What is the innovations or shifts do you anticipate in the UA landscape, or just in the general mobile landscape, or in 2025 and beyond? I think everybody's got an answer for this one, but Sandy, you want to start?
I think AI will be even more popular in FY25, in 2025, and company and users probably know how to leverage AI to do more things. That's what I'm seeing for 2025. Yeah.
I think we're going to spend more time talking about different platforms. Like in the last, I want to say 12 to 18 months, there's been a lot of talk about web and mobile and linking all those experiences together. But given the recent legal stuff that happened in the EU, I think we're just going to have to spend more time looking at other platforms, especially outside of the US.
So one of the things we've found actually is when you do a search on Google and you look at the search engine result pages, most people try to optimize to see where their site's going to rank based on a keyword, but they tend to sort of disregard all of the other real estate that you can be optimizing for. And so what we've really honed into, and I know it's going to become a bigger part, is most people aren't going to just click on your site. They're going to look at other things which are known as featured snippets, like question and answers. And we show up really well on that because we've been optimizing our content for that. The other one is AI generated results, because now with with Gemini and ChatGPT being integrated more into these results, if you can start optimizing for those types of featured snippets, people are going to start paying more weight into that versus just trying to optimize for just trying to show up on a specific keyword. And I think a lot of that, to show up on that, it really comes down to thinking about conversations that someone's having a conversation with you, like asking you a question and answering that question. And there's a tool called People Also Ask. If you look for that, it will give you all these search queries on Google in terms of how people are searching for different things related to your categories. And then you can use that to come up with. And the way we did it is because we had a lot of data through, a lot of these questions come up through our support. So we used ChatGPT to go into our database and generate all of these responses. And we generated at scale all of these FAQs that start showing up on Google.
Super cool. Lenette?
I think what I would like to see is basically advertising partners making use of the strength of like language learning models to target interest better. So these days, like when you look at interest targeting for like finance, it's just like one category, business and finance, super broad. But like I feel like if advertising networks use LLMs to sort of analyze what their users do, they could potentially give us a lot more specific targeting while still respecting, user privacy, because that would be first-party data, which is allowed. And then as Google and Apple take away more like granular data from us, like we would need to know, like, to answer the question, like how is your campaign doing? You need to know what exactly your campaign is doing, like who they're targeting, what the users are. And this kind of data, I hope it will be more available from the networks. And also, like, if any of you are working at an advertising network, like build that generative AI, like build my campaign thing, please.
I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. It was awesome.
Thank you.